And now for something completely different.
Lemon curry?
Greetings, servants of the Imperium. Before I begin this broadcast, I thought I'd just mention a little something that you might like. It's about Johnbonne Reviews. If you go on your cogitator and then go onto Steam and have a look for the group Johnbonne Reviews, you'll be able to see a group that basically just says how great I am and how great some games are because I recommended them. So, yeah, just go on there and you might like it. I don't know. Anyway, this is Call of Juarez Gunslinger. I don't expect to enjoy it too much because it's got very little in the way of glorious melee combat.
Shooter games have seen all kinds of good, bad and ugly over the years, from orgasmic good looks akin to those of Blondie, to games that use dirty tricks even Angel Eyes would think too cruel. In spite of recent innovations and a necessary step backwards in some cases, developers continue to build ghost towns on the wasteland publishers created, and right now there's only room for one shooter in this barren dust bowl that's my attention span. Call of Juarez has had a noose around its neck as many times as it's been shot in two, allowing the series to ride free once more to mock the precedent setters and the lawmakers. When you pick up a Call of Juarez game, you know what to expect: fun gameplay, a tragic story, and a question we may never be able to answer. Where's all the Wild West shooters? Gunslinger is the fourth installment of the series after The Cartel, a game that publishers decided we preferred to the old West style of game. As expected, Ubisoft done goofed. However, in the wake of their mistake came the best in the series. Sure, its story is on par with one of them dime novels, but the gunplay? Now that's far from a dime a dozen.
Sorry I had to ruin the legend for you, boy, but the legend ain't always true.
You play as Silas Greaves, outlaw, bounty hunter, and best buddies with some of the most notorious individuals in the States. Or what would become the States, at least. It doesn't surprise me that Silas was inserted dick first into the unsuspecting arses of every famous bandit ever, given that this is a Ubisoft game. It stopped being clever after the assassin Connor witnessed the signing of the Declaration of Constipation, or whatever the hell it's called. It's not all that annoying though, and as Silas is telling the real story to one of his fans, it's made all the more clever when it deviates from what the books about him say. Hell, Silas isn't too bothered about exaggerating or downplaying things about himself just to keep the player entertained either. It's these twists and turns that make the seemingly humdrum slog into a daring and often side-splitting adventure.
It's a good thing that I abandoned that ridiculous plan before I even tried it. Instead, I spotted a ladder, a way into the mine from the opposite side.
I've not called an FPS a shoot 'em up in a while, at least not until I played Gunslinger. The classic name for the genre deserves to be brought back as it conjures images of bombastic, unadulterated, guilt-free fun, and it splurges out on screen like
An anime fan on prom night.
the arcadey feel of zooming through a level, ducking and weaving and blowing the ever-living fuck out of dickheads and deputies makes for a good 7 or so hours, even if it's dragged out to feel like 70 hours. Silas will only start with his poncho, pistols and penis on his person, but it's not long before your repressed sexual envy is catered to with weapons that sound and feel like mighty Thor himself wanked onto each round fired.
Okay.
There's a nice variety in the weapons and enough tools for the few different situations you'll be thrust into. The rifle and sawed-off rifle are for longer range kills, the shotgun and the sawed-off shotgun are the opposite, and the multiple kinds of pistol are for encounters of all kinds, but help when the ammo's low or when you need to deal with someone your other gun's not viable against. Besides the one-handed shotty, I found use in all the firearms, and I could change them at the conveniently placed ammo dumps before I got bored of the game, and quickly got to understand the joy of experimenting with different builds, something that I never really do in most other games. There is something else that makes this less of an arcade blitz and more of a modern shooter. Upgrades, and gosh golly darn do I love me some upgrades. Silas can invest the experience points in 3 different skill trees which will affect his weapon effectiveness, combos and point modifiers, and his ability to use concentration, the game's breathtakingly well designed bullet time mechanic. To get more bang for your buck, all you need to do is kill folk in fancy ways, and the quicker and fancier you kill them, the more XP you get to put towards big ol' skill points. This doesn't have to be a bad thing just because it's a bit like one of them newfangled video games, especially when it's been tried and tested in games like Bulletstorm and the Dark Partners 2, and made all the better with New Game Plus. Now let's get into some of the less desirable features which make this fantastic corral into an okay corral. There's not much in the way of enemy variety nor ways to stop them, and I find what few unique enemies the game attempts are more annoying than worthwhile. Shotgunners and shielders, yep, shielders really are an enemy in this game, are the typical, or only for that matter, enemies outside of the norm, with the exception of the Apaches and their ambush tactics. In the end, they're all just red-blooded Americans, and they die in all the same ways. Unless you kill them in fist-fancy ways. Another feature with a bounty on its head is the Death's Door, or whatever it's called mechanic. Stay alive long enough for the skull and dice meter to fill up, and you get a chance to dodge a killing blow. It's a bit tacky, especially when there's skills you can invest in to make it cheesier, but it keeps the flow going. It also pisses me off because I like the game over jingle. I suppose there'll be plenty of opportunities to hear it in a duel though, and while I get the duels and Mexican standoffs and El Bigo fighties are part of the Wild West and the fiction around it, they only annoy me because my reflexes are as good as a smashed badger's. These battles require you to build your draw speed, how much time slows down for your opponent, and getting your shot in faster before the other shooter can so much as pull the trigger. They usually only have time to fire once, and if you don't move, they'll hit, so you'll need every shred of speed and focus you can scrape together.
It's time now to see to the horses and listen to the pianist in the saloon, after we've talked about the visuals and soundtrack.
Gunslinger opts in for a lightly cel-shaded and graphic novel look more than the popular realistic or pixel art aesthetic, all of which work by the way, and given how the story is told, particularly with its knee-slapping, chuckle-inducing, fairy tale telling,
brazenly avaricious, duplicitous, larcenous
humour and twists, it feels like it's straight out of a dime novel. I wonder how much they'd be now. Probably £8, just like Freddo Bars, the bloody thieves! The graphical fidelity isn't stunning, but it's not all cock and bull either, offering some pleasant locations such as rickety lumber mills and lush, craggy mountains. Yeah, I know I didn't really sell the visuals there. The music is, well, it's the goddamn Wild West. What do you expect besides harmonica solos and quickly strumming acoustic guitars? What caught my ear was how Silas narrated the stories and did other characters' voices himself, adding more to that comic book feel. And like I said with the weapons, they sound like Thor having a wank.
It's high time to ride out of this review faster than the devil himself, but not before giving my final thoughts.
Ever since I saw this game and its price tag, I wanted to know the catch. It looks like an on-rail shooter, it plays like the classics, and it's got a price that reeks of quantity over quality. So what's wrong with it? The answer, quite simply, is nothing. For the £11.99 you'll pay, you can get about 6 to 9 hours of rootin' tootin' arcade shooting, and that's not counting the hunt for the historical collectibles you'll want to play again for. Sure, it's short, but it's sweet. The game features likeable characters, a stylish story, and a unique way of telling it, as well as all the golden nuggets of gameplay from previous COD games. Emperor Protects. You remember Golden Nuggets? If you're craving the cold but still cringing to Cartel, Gunslinger is the shooter that'll satisfy any dead eye. Now that was pretty good, but seriously, there's not much else to say. It's just fun, pure and simple. It's a shame Ubisoft forgot.
Until the next time, I'm Commissar Johnbonne of the Adaptus Video Games. Unfortunately, I don't have another ending, but what I do have is I got some footage of Navigator Mortis playing the bare necessities on a bonogram, which was a gift from the Emperor's children. Would you like to see it? Well, tough shit, you're gonna have to see it anyway, because I ain't got anything else for you. What do you mean it's still on? What the hell are you doing? I haven't got anything else for you. Go away! Until the next time, I'm Commissar Johnbonne, the number one source for number 2 games, and I'll see you in the next review. Ta for now. God, where was I in that book? It's on about vampires and shit.